All right, so looks like we are live. Hello and welcome everyone. Today I am playing a faction tournament, much like the faction war, except your units are actually, you can actually choose from the campaign unit roster. So you can see the greenskins, we have the spider hatchlings, feral wyvern, and lava arachnarok spider. I will be playing the greenskins today if you could not tell. And another very important thing, this is actually a modded tournament. So that means that all the campaign units are actually part of your main roster now instead of the campaign section. And some more OP units have been removed so that this is a lot more playable. So should be very exciting today. If you're coming in watching the VOD, you can of course always skip ahead to the actual game, since sometimes it takes a little bit of time to actually find our first map or first match, that is. But it looks like we are up against Yvres to start out with. Sleepy Lion in chat. Hello, welcome. Very interesting format. Looking forward to it. Oh yes, it should be great for sure. The actual unit limits you can see down below on the challenge page. So here we go. Hopefully it all goes well. Oh boy, all right. Let's see, who are we up against first? So actually, another important thing to note. I have... let's see. Oh, I can't find my opponent. Let me see if I can find them. But yeah, for this tournament today, I was actually invited to do some casting on it. So if I do get taken out early, I will be able to actually... I'll be able to continue watching all the way up until the finals. So that should be quite good. And as soon as our opponent joins the Discord server, we can get right underway. All right, I got a lobby up. There we go. So the general idea for today, it's gonna be a lot of these guys right here. These spider hatchlings, compare them to normal forest goblin spider riders. They are basically, they basically do the same amount of damage, maybe a little bit less, but they cost as much as peasant mobs, only a little bit more expensive. So these guys are going to be pretty scary. We are up against Yvres, so we'll have to figure that out. And I also need to figure out what maps we're going to be playing on. So looks like those are still being chosen, so I'll just make my build in the meantime. But this is going to be the baseline for many builds. 5 spiders, as is legal, I believe. And then 3 ogres. The cheaper ones, which the greenskins can also field. Yep, all the way up to a max of 3. And if we want, we can even go a little bit on the Air Force, but I think I'll opt out of that this time around. I'm tempted to take the Lava Arachnarok Spider too, just because it does have a Mortis engine effect, and it can actually give a pretty big AoE to shred apart any high elf elite infantry. So we'll see if that actually comes into play this time around, but I sort of feel like going pretty wide, especially with this for my Lord. Possibly a Grimgore Ironhide. We are up against Yvres, so the chances of him having something to fight is pretty high. You know what? Maybe I will take him. Give him. I might even take Gitsnik with him, just so that he can really tear apart any dragons that we see. Combined with the River Troll Hag, definitely the classic combo indeed. We got many a slow to assist us here. And Spirit Leech might work out well against the flying units of Yvres too. Let's see, where are those ogres though? Here they are. We'll take 3 of them, 5 spider hatchlings, and then decide if I actually want to take any of these big old monsters here. We don't have the full campaign roster, because that would be a little bit too strong, even for this tournament. So far this is looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and save this build real quick so I can take a look at what Yvres can field. And then we can go from there. Now, Knights of Torgaval, very elite flying force. Probably the scariest threat that I have to deal with here. And then the rest is just a bunch of archers. that can do a lot of damage. Let's see, even some skirmishing archers, which could be a little bit of a problem too. So I'll see if I can more or less overrun them. Looks like our opponent is ready. Very interesting. Now, if it is a mass archer build, I do feel pretty confident with this. Let's go ahead and take another unit of chariots though, just in case. And then the rest, I still have 5,000 gold, despite this pretty massive army that I have going on. So I'll probably field a little bit of anti-large, maybe take some skirmishers of my own, some wolf rider archers, can't really go wrong there. These guys have poison, so I don't really need to take these poisoned forest goblin spider riders, and then the rest is just a front line. Are Lizardmen campaign units good? They actually are pretty interesting. They have an extra 1,000 HP, a lot of them, and they also have quite a few stat buffs too. So all in all, pretty good, I would say. But I think a lot of other factions have it maybe a little bit better compared to them Lizardmen. Let's see. Man, I have so much extra money. I really want to field more infantry, but I need these ranged wolf riders to deal with those Knights of Torgabal. I definitely don't want to get swarmed by them, but I think they are limited to just one. Let's see, High Elves, Yvrest. Yeah, they're limited to just one. In fact, all of their cool units are limited to just one, so I actually don't need that many Spider Riders as I initially thought, and instead I can actually go ahead and field a few more Black Orcs. Should be pretty exciting. I'm expecting the High Elves to have some cool units flying around, so taking one of these goblins with Gorkle Fix-It will be pretty great. And I'll even cut Aspect of the Dread Knight so that I can go more Vindictive Glare spamming. The rest of my army can be some big guns, I think. And there we go. I have a very elite front line and a really nice mobility force that I think will do okay. I don't have a ton of I don't have a strong cavalry force, but I'm thinking with these spiders, I'll be able to distract a lot of the High Elf opponent. High Elf cavalry here. Bring the dwarves with the big dino. Unfortunately, we're locked into our one faction this time around, but if we ever have one of these tournaments again, I'll definitely be doing that. Oh yeah. Alright, yes, I totally forgot about the maps. Are they set? Maybe I have to refresh the page. Hey, Red Wedding Planner. How's it going? I am doing quite well. I'm very excited for this tournament. And even if I do get knocked out early, I'll still be able to cast, which should be quite exciting. Alright, there we go. Our opponent, they are ready themselves. And I'm really just hoping that I don't run into too much elite cavalry today. It's going to be the main goal. Let's go ahead and show off the bracket. We are in round 4. I'm going to try to get at least to the semifinals today. Hopefully that goes well, but if we don't, there should be quite a few interesting matches to actually watch. Alright. Oh boy, here we go. Game number 1. We're up against Yvrest. They have a lot of scary tools. But I think in terms of their cavalry, it's nothing too alarming. I have actually a fairly small force for myself, despite this being a 20 stack. But the High Elf army is quite small too. And the general idea is going to be using these spiders to their maximum effectiveness. I got my skirmishers. They're going to actually stay back in a little bit of a safer position. Just because I'm not expecting too many skirmishers here for the High Elves, at least not cavalry skirmishers. The spiders will be rushing forwards at the start of the battle. Then we got our kill squad here. Grimgore, River Troll Hag, and a Night Goblin Shaman. We are stacked when it comes to these slows. Hopefully that will be able to carry me out to victory today. My front line is reinforced by ogres. It means that they basically won't be dying to anything. And with that, let's see what our opponent has brought for us. Alright, and here we go. It looks like he is ready. So here we go. Let's start out the battle. It looks like he didn't go for a heavy kite build this time around. He has brought the Spire Guard and some cavalry of his own. But I do have my extremely large mobility force. Of course, the Knights of Torgaval, very standard. The Spiders, they're just going to be moving on up, causing a few issues at the start. We got some special Illyrian Reavers here, too. Did they have armor piercing? They don't, so not too scary, I don't think. A couple chariots on the flanks, too. Nothing too alarming in general. I can more or less just advance. These white lines aren't going to be especially strong against my front line, because I do have a ton of black orcs here. The Archmage of Life, she's just going to be healing up the knights, I think. But good bit of distraction here. I do manage to get them a little bit further away from my main lines. And I can just more or less charge dead center into this high elf formation and see how much damage I can get going. My skirmishers are doing pretty well for themselves, I think. My chariots now slamming in. They will be able to dive in onto these very elite Lothern Sea Guard too. And with my front line spilling through without too much of a contesting force from the High Elves, I'm already feeling pretty comfortable with this early game position. The front line should be able to really tear things apart. The Knights do fly on in, so I will give them a bit of a slow so that they don't punish my chariots too much. In the meantime, I guess my skirmishers are going to start shooting at those Knights. I definitely want to get them killed off as soon as possible. Some Spirit Leeches should be pretty punishing too. Although they are rather tanky, the Spirit Leeches definitely aren't going to be finishing them off by any means. The front line, however, though, is still going quite well. We've broken through the center and shut down the range units. But how are the rest of the High Elf forces going to do here? Specifically the Knights and the White Lions. They've actually been able to hold up decently for themselves here. But we do have a Wa, so I think things should be able to start falling apart rather quickly now. We've completely enveloped this left flank. Grimgor is still rather healthy too, so I think this is going to be a really nice game. Aren't trolls better than ogres? Actually not. Ogres have higher leadership and they cost less, which is really nice for them. As the ogres, yeah, they'll stick in the battle and they'll support your front line for a measly 550 gold. They're actually pretty amazing here, and look at that, Grimgor absolutely chopping down these knights like it is no problem in the slightest. And that's gonna be the first win for today. Alright, pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and throw down another slow too, just to make sure these guys really don't escape. We can see the ogres actually held up fairly well for themselves. I think only one of them routed off. And overall, my army was pretty overwhelming here. There we go, the knights are now down, which means it's just the Spire Guard left. They won't be able to hold, and my opponent calls GG. Alright. So pretty good. Oh, I forgot to set his name in the score. There's always something that I forget. His name is Coops. Whoops. Coops. There we go. Oh, and I actually don't need scores since this is just a best of one type situation here. Alright, so here we go. Ogres did amazingly. They paid for themselves. The spiders too, they paid for themselves, especially as a distraction tool. And the chariots too, doing quite well. Overall, my army went pretty unscathed that game. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with this army. Let's go ahead and save it and use it as a nice baseline for the rest of my builds. Let's go ahead and report the score and message my next opponent. Let's see, it's gonna be, you can see them over here. It's Cool Umbrella. We are up. All right, and the map is going to be the Chill Flow. Now, one interesting thing that was brought up, the vampire counts can actually bring range units in this tournament, which makes them rather terrifying indeed. Greenskin Mirror. All right, nice. So we're both on greenskins. Let's see if I have them on my friends list. I can invite them in. Sadly, I do not. Hobby up called Enticity. There we go. And we'll see how this goes. Now, the green skin mirror. What could he possibly bring here that would be really threatening? I think these monsters won't be as much of a problem as he might hope. With my skirmishers, they should do well. I have Grimgore too. And I have a ton of very elite infantry on the mobility front. I'm wondering if he'll actually go for a lot of cavalry that might actually be able to overwhelm my forces a bit. We'll have to see. I'm thinking if I go heavy on the cavalry, that might actually be able to do quite well. But overall in this matchup, you actually sort of want to go more archers instead of skirmishers. Let's see. Yeah, the archers, what they do is they have pretty good armor piercing. And they'll be able to really shut down any big monster blobs that we see. They won't easily be able to push through my ogres and black orcs, but I'm thinking since the ROR Arachnarok spider is in, I might not want to actually go very elite on my front line. Maybe a little bit cheaper. Going instead, just for big guns actually, might be the better choice here. For my cavalry. Let's see here. I have a ton of spider hatchlings. They are eating a lot of my space in terms of the actual army slots I have here. So we'll have to see how elite I actually want to go here. I definitely want to be commanding the mobility fight though, as much as I can. And then sort of going from there. So protecting the archers is the main priority. I can upgrade these orc boys to even savage orc boy variants. They do come with frenzy, which will help them out a little bit, but they are extremely expensive. Maybe even a little bit overpriced. Just a normal orc boy cavalry might do me a bit better here. And let's see, maybe I'll cut a single unit of archers. It could be a little bit overkill to take this many. I will still take my goblin though, and the giant river troll hag. I think overall that's still a very good choice. And for my actual rest of my funds here, I would really like to take a unit of black orcs, sort of as a very strong anchor for me. But they're going to be a little bit too expensive, unfortunately. You know, maybe I don't really need the river troll hag. You know, Spirit Leech isn't that great, and instead just spamming out the Gorkle Fix-Its feels a little bit better. Perhaps that's the idea. I would be saving a lot of money, and I have an extra slot for units, so you know, this does let me field a unit of black orcs. So I have a very strong front line, a pretty good mobility force, and some archers that'll be killing off single entities. I'm a little bit vulnerable to skirmishers, but the greenskins aren't amazing on that front. So I think overall, I'm feeling okay. This feral wyvern in the sky could be a little bit of a problem, but I think with my mobility force, I'm feeling okay. I'm tempted to cut one of these big guns though for some more boar cavalry though, as that is actually possible with the insane amount of extra funds that I have. So let's go ahead and try that out. Let's see, what's the best way to fit in these boar boys? Could take one boar boy and then one savage cavalry. These guys can hang around in the back line in case there are actually flying units that decide to dive on in. And then we'll also upgrade one of our archers to savage orcs just so that he has a little bit better leadership. But otherwise, this all feels pretty good. Grimgore, very nice lord if you're expecting large single entities. So let's try it out. A nice very wide front line with an insane amount of mobility strength. I should be able to shut down any cavalry for my opponent. Oh, I forgot I have a screen blocker up. Whoopsie daisies. But it looks like they are ready. So let's go ahead and ready up. Dive on into the match. Now, in terms of this tournament, how strong do you guys think the vampire counts are? Vampire counts, they are they're pretty beastly with range units. Most of their bad matchups are because they don't have a lot of ranged firepower. So I'm really wondering if they'll be able to dominate here. The extreme, the mobility here for the greenskins could really change that up, or you can actually go a little bit wider. But we might not know. I don't think a ton of people actually went for the vampire counts this time. In fact, one person went for chaos, which is pretty crazy. Hey, Rusty. Things are going very well. I am playing in a single faction tournament, best of ones throughout, with campaign units allowed. So that means that the greenskins can bring ogres and these very strong spider hatchlings. Right now I'm up in a mirror matchup against my opponent, who has a similarly sized army. We'll see if he decided to go for cavalry or what. Possibly even some skirmishers. And yeah, I'm planning to go mostly pretty similar builds across the board here. I got my nice cavalry here. They're supported by essentially dog units, but this time around my cavalry is very strong, and it allows me to take an extremely powerful front line here. So this cavalry force is as strong as armies that go heavy on cavalry, but my front line is as strong as armies that go heavy on the front line. Sort of the best of both worlds here for sure. You better use Gitsnick. Oh yeah, oh you better Gitsnick someone. Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah, we got Grimgore. It's gonna be going ham. But here we go, cool umbrella, giving his good luck, have fun. We'll see how many skirmishers he has here. Instead, looks like he opted for many savage orc archer boys. He has a bit of a cavalry force of his own. But actually a pretty cheap cavalry force. What's this? The Man-Eater Great Weapons. Now that's gonna be eating up a lot of his money. And I feel like that's already a pretty nice advantage for me. The Man-Eaters aren't an extremely powerful force by any means. And if I can get my archers to shut, or my cavalry to win their engagements on the flanks, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to have a pretty commanding lead here. I'm wondering where the money went for my opponent, though, as many of these forces are actually much weaker than my lines. Perhaps it all went into Skarsnik, but no, it's actually a feral hydra, where my opponent actually spent most of his resources. Now, right off the bat, let's go ahead and get my archers to go and slam into the forces here. Just get some range shots in. I don't really need to engage since I have the range advantage and the mobility advantage too. These savage orc cavalry units are going to be rather scary. And now that the Hydra is in range, let's go ahead and start shooting at that. It does get a fairly nice breath attack on my forces, but overall, nothing too scary. My cavalry now, going to be charging in onto the greenskin cavalry. And as long as I can shut down this Hydra, I think I am good. So let's go ahead and slow it down. That should be able to really give it some issues. The cavalry is doing quite well, and they can actually divert and help in the mainline fight now, as they have thoroughly shredded apart the rather weak cavalry for my opponent. Meanwhile, spiders are going to be pouring in too, and with the range units shut down, it just comes down to how well this center line actually goes. A lot of my forces are breaking, which makes things a little bit scarier on the center line. That means that my archers are going to have a little bit of a run for their money, and we'll have to run away to find a little bit of a safer position. Grimgore is doing great though, and it looks like he will be able to win the fight against the Hydra. And even though my archers do have to run, my cavalry will be able to do some pretty nice cleaning up along the flanks. Things are going quite well for me too. Let's go ahead and pull this goblin away so that he doesn't get shut down by everything. And then once my archers are safe, my cavalry now coming on in, I think the game should be mine. Grimgore, he doesn't even need to debuff that river troll hag, as she is not exactly much of a threat anymore, running for the hills. And I'll save that debuff for Skarsnik. Grimgore is going to be diving in on top of him. He'll be able to beat him up pretty bad as he dives on in. that big melee debuff on Grimgor. Better than most melee debuffs in the game, actually. We'll be able to lay waste into him. The Hydra's going to get chased off by my cavalry, and there we go. Chop, chop, chop. Grimgor is going to be winning that single entity fight, actually killing off all the single entities of my opponent this game, leading to what seems to be another decisive victory. So I even have my Goblin Shaman here. This Hydra is regenerating, so it might actually be able to rally here. We'll have to see. Definitely not going to be much of an issue, though. As you can see, my opponent barely has any forces left. Grimgor doing great versus Skarsnik. Not a problem in the slightest. So there we go. Another pretty clean victory. If you take a look at the stats on my units, Grimgor, 0 kills, 1,400 gold value. Amazing. The spiders, still not paying for themselves. Well, actually, no, they did pay for themselves. Especially for how cheap they are. They're as expensive as Skaven slaves, and they definitely perform a lot better since they are extremely mobile. The ogres too doing quite well. The ones that fought the man-eaters did lose, but overall the man-eaters didn't fare too well for themselves. And my cavalry just completely dominating the flanks as expected. So GG. Yeah, cavalry with spiders, so good. These guys will tank the charge for you and just run over the world. So already we've hit the semifinals as we've wanted to. Let's go ahead and take a screenshot of the bracket as it is right now. Look at that. We're doing great. And we'll see if we can get to the finals and actually get a bit of that prize pool for the tournament today. So pretty good. Now we will be able to go ahead and cast some games. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see who has their lobby up. We have Swarv versus Penguin. Let's go ahead and spectate that and see what we got going. Let's see here. I will be casting for a game today. Sweet. All right, let's go ahead and change the scores. Let's see. Oh, no, this is Penguin. Penguin up against Swarv. There we go. And it looks like it's going to be an Empire mirror match. So the Empire actually do have a lot of special units that they can bring here. What's it? They actually have one that can turn undead units into mortals. It's really great if you can actually get them to rout off the battlefield. And we'll see how well that actually goes today. Not especially important when it comes to an Empire mirror match, but overall, a lot of their units are going to be much stronger here. So, should be quite good. If you guys have any expectations on who will win, feel free to let me know in chat. I think Swarv definitely has quite a bit of experience when it comes into tournaments. I've seen Blood Penguin around pretty often too, but we'll have to see. Overall, though, I think the gameplay should be fairly similar for a lot of these guys. If you think, if you have any favorite units though for the RORs, feel free to let me know. Should be quite exciting. Sorry, just 1 second. I have to manage something. Interesting. Try you all. Oh wait, yeah. Sadly, the Discord bot ever the intensity when it comes to actually managing things. It's just a constant distraction for me, but it looks like both players are ready to go. So let's see how this match actually plays out. I may even be facing one of these guys down the line in the tournament. That should be pretty interesting. All right. So here we go. Whew. Sorry, I'm like super distracted by my by my Discord bot right now, since sometimes it can cause a few problems. But nevertheless, I think I've resolved that issue. We can dive on into the game. I'm particularly interested in what elite units these two players have decided to bring today. It could be quite a bit. Let's see here. So, for the forces of Penguin, we have quite a few special units here. The Stir River Patrol crossbowmen coming in with the suppression, minus 30%, 35% speed. This is a very rare ability that you see on units, but it makes them extremely strong. So any units that they hit are going to be slowed down by quite a bit. The Stubborn Bulls, Empire Greatswords here too. Actually, it's showing cavalry. That's interesting. Greatsword cavalry. Gonna be some elite armor-piercing cavalry coming in on the flanks. That's actually really interesting. Their stats are quite good. Actually looking sort of like questing knights there. And Sigmar Sons, standard ROR, and that's it for Penguin. Not going too heavy on these very special units. Some more Sigmar Sons for the opponent, his opponent's Empire force here. And that's actually gonna be it. His instead opting to go for an Ogre frontline. And going for the Noble Sons Abroad, the Pistoliers. Now these guys, they have a generally better combat stats all around, and pretty good missile strength too, I believe. But other than that, the armies are very similar. And it looks like both forces going pretty light on the range units. Our Empire player here, Penguin, going a little bit heavier, opting to take some cannons, and we'll see how well they actually trade against the Ogres. Not too many skirmishers too, and in fact the skirmish phase can't be too long for our Red Empire player here, since they will eventually get shut down by the Great Cannons. So onus is on him to push as fast as he can to overrun these forces. Lord options for the yellow side, Marcus Wolfheart and Volkmar. On the red, Amber Wizard with a Manticore summon to enhance this rush. I would put my money overall on the Red Empire player here. But it all comes down to how well Penguin can actually hold the line, especially with Marcus. His very devastating net, he might be able to pin down these ogres long enough for these archers to shut him down, especially with the River Patrol. That should be quite exciting indeed. So it looks like both players are ready to go. They are positioned facing off towards each other. And as soon as the battle starts, we'll see how it actually plays out. Interesting, yeah, so this tournament is actually quite fun today. If anyone in chat is very excited to see more tournaments like this, do let me know. This is primarily a pretty competitive Warhammer tournament channel, so I overall don't know how much people enjoy events like this, but in between the main tournament events, we will be hosting many fun tournaments like this in the future. In fact, on Monday, there's going to be a pretty fun one. Monday being tomorrow, actually, where it's going to be units that can ban each other, or where you can actually ban units. So that should be quite exciting. But here we go. As the battle begins, we are seeing the Pistoliers. They do move forwards. They're going to be harassing these Empire Knights a bit. Meanwhile, these Pistoliers shooting at Marcus, but taking a beating by moving forwards. Those basic crossbowmen really showing who's boss there. Empire Knights having to disengage too. We'll be taking a bit of damage, but the main problem here, Pistoliers, they don't do that much damage to armored. So actually not getting too much damage on the Empire forces. Meanwhile, over here we are seeing the Empire Knights getting completely beaten down by these cannons who are targeting them. On the left flank, these cannons look like they are targeting these ogres in the distance. Pretty decent damage, but overall I would say not too cost effective if this rush can get engaged fast enough. But as you can see, the Empire forces here have done fairly well in this initial engagement. These spears do get wrecked pretty hard though from a nice surround from Swarv, and a pretty brutal countercharge with the ogres too, mean that these Empire Knights, well, they're going to be having a really rough time. The special Great Sword Empire Knights, though, are coming in along the flank, though, and they might actually be able to turn the tide of this left flank, getting in a solid charge and taking no damage in return. Oh, plus the cannons actually firing on in. It looks like the red player here, Swarv, might have bitten off a little bit more than he could chew. Volkmar, though, does dive on in. He will be supporting the forces, or at least the range units won't be punishing that too much. Now, on the left flank, the Empire forces have gone pretty wide, and that means that these knights are having a pretty easy time diving in onto them, sneaking in behind and between the units of infantry here. Very nice play for Swarv, and a burning head, though. Oh my goodness! Absolutely annihilating those flagellants, giving the center line a very strong Sigmar Sons at half HP there. As we saw last game, the center line is very important to hold to keep your range units alive, and that means that these two units of archers will be doing quite well. The Arawar, the stubborn bulls, have taken a decent amount of damage, though. Not sure actually what did so much. Perhaps it was just Volkmar, or maybe a charge from the Empire Knights. We may not know, but they're still doing quite well for themselves, holding really well, and the balance of power goes in the favor of the Yellow Empire player. It looks like they're a nice defensive position, and especially their cannons, tipping the mobility fight extremely in their favor. Some more cavalry engagements in the center. The Sigmar Sons were not able to stop the cavalry charge for the Empire, and we are seeing another big melee engagement. This would typically go in the favor of the rushing player, but just the damage that they've taken throughout the battle, and another burning head roasting those unarmored flagellants. It seems like the Red Empire player might not have the advantage here, as a huge swarm of infantry looks to be diving in to catch out these Empire Knights. If they stay in combat for a little bit longer, they will be committed to this fight, and if they don't win, it means it's just gonna be Volkmar left for this entire battle. Some handgunners in the back, though, potentially an opportunity to come back. Volkmar, he's been chasing Marcus Wolfhart the entire game. An interesting thing about Volkmar, he can kill almost unending tides of infantry for, he can basically kill unending tides of infantry. And if these cannons get shut down, this huge infantry force might just die to Volkmar. We'll have to see. A nice net, though, drops down on top of him. This means the cannons can lay into him, and Marcus, too, will be able to snipe out this large target. He does do bonus damage to large units. Actually, an extra 120. He will be able to kite down Volkmar pretty hard. And unless Volkmar is able to shut down all of these three anti-large units, he will be going down, and look at that. The Arawar archers giving Volkmar the suppression effect, having to take cover from those archers for some reason. That means he's actually going to be moving rather slow, actually almost at spearman speed, and that means he's going to be taking insane amounts of damage here. And oh my gosh, there we go, Swarv actually leaves the game against all odds. The Rush managing to defeat the cannon, or the Rush losing against the cannons in the back line. Now, the cannons, they did not pay for themselves exactly, but what they really did was buy the mobility fight for the Empire forces here. I guess they focused down the stubborn bulls for Swarv, and look at the poor value on the units of cavalry there. Instead, the opposing Empire player doing much better and making sure that his archers were alive for the majority of the game. That really helped them out there for sure. So that's that match going to be done, which means we will be diving in onto the second one. Let's actually follow our opponent here so that the winner of the next match will be able to dive in, so that we'll be able to play our opponent as soon as they finish their match. All right, so it's gonna be Blood Penguin up against Demiros, playing as the Lizardmen. Now, I did see people in chat asking about the Lizardmen earlier, so we'll see how well they actually do. Let's see, at Swarv, at Demiros, there we go. I'd like to spectate your game. Make sure to leave a slot open. Okay, let's also give them a quick friend invite so that we can make sure we can spectate this match. So should be good. Oh man, I'm really surprised that the Ogre Rush fell apart there, but just that superior cavalry advantage really coming out ahead. I'm also pretty interested to see how well those elite greatsword cavalry do, as they are just actually a really good unit by the looks of it. Armor piercing cavalry for the Empire at a pretty cheap cost. If they're anything like questing knights, they are going to be absolutely brutal in this tournament today. Oh man, my throat is a little bit sore. That's strange. Must be all the casting I've done and recording I've done recently. But here we go. The lobby is up. It's gonna be Penguin up against his opponent, Demiros. Let's see here. Dimeros. There we go. We'll see who decides who can win it today. Empire against the Lizardmen. And overall, the standard is that this is a favored matchup for the Lizardmen. Lizardmen typically have a really strong front line, and that's usually what carries them here. But for the Empire, they do have a lot of really strong options now, especially with the slows, the superior cavalry, but they still don't have a lot of single entities, so the Lizardmen may very well come out on top on that front. Could be quite interesting here, but while we wait for the opponents to actually show up, I'll go ahead and just get a quick snack so I don't starve to death in the middle of this tournament. So while I go ahead and do that, I will see you guys in just a second. We'll be back in like about a minute. In the meantime, give some speculation on who you think will win it. Oh. All right, we're back. Oh, and it looks like he hasn't been able to get his opponent in yet, unfortunately. So it looks like there are some technical difficulties going on. So we'll see how this goes. Cool Umbrella saying the Stubborn Bulls definitely perform well for sure. Let's see. Oh wait, so it looks like yeah, it looks like, oh, Cool Umbrella, yeah. So you're streaming too, streaming the semifinals. Okay, yeah, sick. By the way, for anyone wondering how to another avenue to actually watch this tournament, since we are waiting currently, there is another stream going on. Let me see if I can actually find it. Yes, here we go. On Steam. Make sure to check out this channel right here. Let's see, can I Will it let me type? There we go. You can check out BBB's channel over there. Or Cool Umbrella stream, where you can actually catch some games too. They are streaming at the same time as I am. So should be pretty good. Yeah, if you're waiting for this match to go on, you might want to bounce over there. They did invite me to this event too. I am but a humble caster and player today, which puts a lot less stress on me for sure. All right, there we go. Just coordinating with the other caster. But yeah, in the meantime, you can see the tournament bracket. It is progressing fairly nicely. It looks like, oh hey, Rescue player. Actually getting up to the best of 8. That's pretty nice. Meanwhile, we have Dactor, who has also advanced. Very, I would put my money on them to do quite well. Dactor is a very strong player for sure. And in the meantime, it looks like that's those are the only players I really recognize. Oh, Spheriturism, also a very nice player in general. Looks like they've taken up the greenskins too. So we'll see how they actually do. Now, Dactor actually going for the Wood Elf Rush by the looks of it. Going by the Wargrove of Woe. Now, that faction actually has Frenzy on all of their Dryads, which makes their rushes pretty scary indeed. I don't know how well they'll actually do against a greenskin build, but we'll have to see. The Spider Hatchlings with cavalry support is very cool. Oh yeah, it's so good. They're basically, it's a peasant front line except for cavalry, which is amazing for how cheap they are too. Usually people do the same thing with dogs, where they use dogs to tank the charge. But dogs cost 400 gold instead of 150, which is a very big difference. Yeah, very big difference indeed in terms of cost. And because of it, it lets me upgrade to big guns and black orcs for my front line. Absolutely massive, for sure. You did that right before you played in a practice match. Ooh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, we played the greenskin mirror, except you switched over to the Goblin Riders, which was an interesting choice. But cool. Let's go ahead and actually. Let's do a quick check to see if any of the other lobbies are up, since we don't want to be waiting around looking at technical difficulties for too long. Let's see, so yeah, we do have the match between Spheriturism and Dactor. Or actually, no, that's Dactor predicting the winner. No, it actually is up. Sweet. So let's go ahead and spectate that while we wait for the other match to actually finish. Okay, cool. I have the screen blocker up. And then let's go ahead and let the opponents know. Let's see. Who do I need to let know? Blood Penguin. There we go. I'll be spectating another match. Well, let's see. Well, the technical difficulties are fixed. Feel free to play without me. All right. So there we go. Let the players know, and we got our matchup here. It's gonna be Spheriturism playing as the greenskins. Spheriturism, there we go. And coming in representing Clan VM. They're going to be up against Dactor, representing my very own clan, Clan ODM. There we go. Whoopsie daisies. Clan ODM. Dactor very strong tournament player. And we'll see how well their build selection will actually go here. Dactor, generally someone that likes experimenting for sure. We'll see what they decide to actually bring. The Wood Elves have a ton of very scary options here. For example, Coadil, 2,000 gold Mortis engine on a tree. Extremely scary for sure. And he also, well, he could also just go for the standard kite style of play. But greenskins overall are definitely a rather scary faction to go up against, as before, Wood Elves, they generally don't have a lot of ranged tools to actually take them out. And that could actually be the downfall for Dactor here in this tournament, as I believe the Wargrove of Woe is actually missing many of their standard Wood Elf units. Let's go ahead and check that out real quick. Yeah, they lose all of their Elf Lords and Heroes. They don't have any ROR Elf units, no Way Watchers, no Wildwood Rangers, and no variants of Wild Hunters. But they can still bring the Glade Guard, which is quite nice against greenskins, as they do have armor piercing, which is very nice against trolls. We'll see what Dactor decides to bring on the cavalry front too. It looks like, let's see, he loses both variants of Wild Hunters. I don't know which one that is. Maybe that means Wild Riders, I guess. And that's going to be pretty bad. Not having that cavalry advantage, he's going to have to really rely on his trees to do well this game, which, although not impossible, definitely going to be a little bit sketchy for Sverigerazum. We'll see what they decide to bring. We've already seen quite a few, or we've seen one style of greenskin play from me, one from my opponent, Cool Umbrella, and we'll see if there's any diversity there. Some big monsters could also be present, but the fact that they can get sniped out, definitely pretty sketchy for sure. Let's see. Oh, you tried the spider cavalry strat and it wasn't effective? That's unfortunate. Norska's very cool with the legendary heroes as well. Oh, yeah. Yeah, plus they have the mammoth squad. Just a group of 6 mammoths together. They don't do that much damage. They'll do about as well as a normal mammoth, but they definitely have a lot more mass and impact for sure. Yeah, I think Norska is very interesting. I just don't know how strong their units are, though. We'll have to see how that actually plays out. Yeah, I'm really interested to see how well Dactor can do here. His front line is going to be a little bit stronger than the usual Wood Elf front line, but I don't think it's going to be devastating. And that's going to be a little bit of a problem there. But here we go. We are loading on into the match. Let's go ahead and remove the screen blocker and see what the players have decided to bring today. There are definitely some options here. I think Dactor is actually more limited on options than usual, while the greenskins actually have quite a few things to pick from. Although the spiders are definitely the most standard thing you would expect. But here we go. Oh, I forgot. The Wargrove of Woe has their own type of mobility. Yes, they have the Beasts of the Forest that will be coming on in. Actually, some giant spiders on the left flank. We'll see how well they actually do against the rest of the forces here. Let's see, giant spiders against the greenskin spiders, which are just hatchlings. I think the giant spiders are actually pretty good for themselves, maybe equivalent to Forest Goblin Spider Riders. As for the greenskin army, what do we got? We got big guns, we got Wurzag, we got a Goblin Big Boss, Wurzag with good amounts of AoE, and a cavalry force, very similar to what I actually brought. On the flank, we actually have some skirmishers, very common against the Wood Elves. And actually, oh my gosh, look at that. Some cave bats from the Wood Elf forces too. Basically no charge bonus, but extremely fast. They'll actually be able to catch, the skirmishers. So we'll see if that actually goes well. Someone's saying he regenerates. Who regenerates? Does Coadil actually regenerate? I'm not seeing it. He does have a Dryad summon though, which could go quite well. But we'll see how this actually goes. We have a pretty strong mobility force on both sides. I think overall the greenskins are slightly stronger when it comes to their mobility. And these skirmishers too, we'll have to see how well they fare against the cave bats. Meanwhile, the goblins rushing into the frontline fight. They might actually not trade too well, especially these orcs. They are big guns, and it looks like they are actually grinding down the dryads despite the frenzy on them. On the left flank though, the vastly superior mobility of all of the forest beasts are going to be pouring through, and we'll see how well they actually do against a cavalry charge. Looks like the giant spiders taking quite a bit of damage for themselves. The orc boys, an extremely scary force when it comes to the greenskins. But on the right flank, you can see these orc boys, they did get overwhelmed despite the fists of Gork. The charging in the back plus the cave bats actually completely ruining them. And these orc boys look like they're going to be next as the wood elf forces swarm over them. Meanwhile, look at the forest goblin spider riders. They're at 78 speed against the 81 speed of the giant wolves. They're actually getting chased down. Strangely enough, the greenskins, for once, they cannot kite out the wood elf mobility. And that's going to be putting in a lot of pressure on those guys. Meanwhile, look at that. The Ancient Treeman and Coadel going absolutely ham, destroying the greenskin frontline. Coadel has insane debuffs and 100 melee attack. What an absolute beast. He's going to be really hard to actually shut down in melee for sure. Does he have he doesn't look to have any weakness to fire or anything. He's just a huge tanky boy. And he's going to be wrecking face greenskins without much to actually kill on the single entity front. Definitely going to be a little bit worried here. Some more engagements along the sides, but we're seeing the wood elf mobility has definitely dominated in this fight. Warzag is going to be fighting against the giant spiders, doing as best as he can. It looks like he will actually be able to possibly rout them off, but really, what is going to beat this insane hero squad? It looks like nothing. As Dactor actually wins that out pretty handily. Look at that. These giant spiders getting insane value. The dogs catching out all of the units and just completely annihilating these poor spiders. That is insane. Oh my gosh, they even tore apart the poor orc boys. Look at that. The front line too, they did fairly well for themselves, but sadly not enough to win this fight. Oh my gosh, absolutely brutal. So that's going to be a match over there. Looks like Demiros versus Penguin is going to be playing now. So let's see if we can find the next match. What we got possibly Void Lols in here. Who's this? Is this actually part of the tournament? You need to have the DLC downloaded, so I expect this might be part of the tournament. I'm not sure, but the lobby just disappeared. Very interesting. But okay, well there you go. I guess we won't be able to spectate that, but let's go ahead and update the bracket now. Dactor gonna be moving on up in the tournament. He's going to be in the semifinals, just like me, and we will be waiting for BBB Cool Umbrella to come in and spectate our game. But wow, definitely a pretty scary wood elf rush for sure. Whoa, is my camera delayed? Okay, it's not delayed. Cool, wonderful. That threw me off for a second there. Also, hey, Torox the Brass Bull in chat again. Welcome. I think I saw you messaging while I was casting that game, Hammond. The two heroes they have are not cost effective, says Hammond. He's on the dragon. What you're saying, Wargrove? I have no idea how well the Wargrove heroes do, but the Dryads, I know they're here. The Dryad heroes are relatively cheap. Oh, you're talking about the Norskin heroes. Yes, they can get pretty expensive. One of them is on a dragon too, indeed. Oh, that's what you're talking about the regeneration, I see. The Maze Keeper is unbreakable and has lots of missile resistance, yeah. If you just want a sort of sartorial clone on Norska, definitely pretty good. Yeah, Torox, those sneaky elves. But hey, the elves did channel a bit of bloodlust that game. You gotta put it up to them. that they did do that quite well. The Wood Elf Rush. The dreaded Wood Elf Beast Rush. Something that we've basically never seen before. Gonna be pretty scary for sure. I'm wondering though if Grimgor can beat Coadel. Grimgor is pretty beastly. Coadel with the 100 melee attack is absolutely insane though. Jay Phoenix in chat, hello, welcome. We're having a pretty nice stream today. It's a campaign units tournament. You need a mod to play it, but it actually has a little bit of balancing going on where some units have been removed due to them being a little bit too OP. Coadil is allowed. That's right. Coadil with the crazy Mortis engine effect. He's a beast. You think Wargrove would be okay if not for Coadil? Interesting. So people think Coadil pretty insane. What do you think makes him really strong in general? Do you think it's a cool umbrella saying he might be removed? Wow, look at that. Why? What's up with Coadil? Does he have just insane combat stats? I'm gonna check right now, guys. Let's take a look at these stats. Alright, so Wargrove of Woe. Here we go. The last faction in the list. Looks like I am getting a little bit of lag here. Let's see if I can just bounce between the factions and load up the army. Maybe if I remake the lobby. He has the Malevolent. We took away his Malevolent ability. Interesting. He can permanently remove Vigor. Wow. Okay, that's pretty fun. Here we go. Let's see. Coadil. He has a Dryad summon. He has a Mortis engine effect. Plus 10 melee attack. Now that's pretty crazy. Yeah, it is modded, so he did lose some abilities. And he has a pretty nice spell kit. If you cut his spells and just use him as a Mortis engine, you know, he's a tree with 40 melee attack. That is way higher than any other tree unit in the game. And he has Sundered Armor. So, Coadil actually, yeah, he is a pretty beastly. Just purely as a single entity. Yeah, look at that. He can have 80 melee attack just constantly running. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Wow, what a world beater. Let's see, can we take a look at Grimgor? What's Grimgor's melee attack look like? Does he actually beat Coadil? Let's go ahead and take a look. So if we take a look at Grimgor here, he also has 70 melee attack. Plus, he can up his melee defense a bit. And he can lower the melee defense of his opponents, which is actually pretty huge. I feel like this right here, the You're Next, that's gonna be our saving grace if we actually do run into him. But overall, Coadil, he can really put a beating on just about everything. He does have fire weakness too, though. And I don't think Grimgor does fire damage, not with any of his abilities. But if you wanted to fight him in a straight-on fight, a Feral Hydra, actually that doesn't do fire damage. I guess a Lava Arachnarok Spider, though, could actually get a little bit of hurting on him. Still, though, his combat stats are absolutely insane. Look at that, 500 weapon strength. The Mad Lad, he can kill Grimgor in 8 shots. What a beast. What an absolute beast. But anyways, let's go ahead and look at the tournament bracket. Let's see if we can actually find a match to go into also. And it looks like, at the moment, no, it's red. The entire thing is red. Such is the way of running mods for sure. But we'll see, we'll be joining as soon as we are able to. Let's see, we are waiting on the casters. Let me message them. Okay, so it looks like Blood Penguin is ready. We might actually be able to get our game started right away, so I'll see if I can invite him. Then we can go ahead and play our match. So let's see, Blood. Oh, Penguin. Nope. All right. Well, I'll let him know the lobby is up. Lobby is up. We'll see if the other caster is ready to join in. Okay, lobby is up. There we go. So nice. Should be seeing Blood Penguin join in a bit, and then Cool Umbrella will be coming on in to cast 2, which should be pretty nice. Cordell is basically Durthu, but with Mortis instead of Sword of Daith. Interesting. And the single target ability is removed too. Yes, that makes him a lot weaker. As a 2000 sort of large single entity though, he's pretty scary, I gotta say. I'm interested to see how it goes though. But Dactyr, can he beat Grimgor? If I take Grimgor, will he be able to chop down Coadil? I guess there's only one way to see, and that's if both of us make it to the finals. But I've been doing a bit of theory crafting. All right, but here we go. Hey, all right, nice. So we got our opponent here. It's gonna be Blood Penguin, coming on in all the way from the start of the bracket. Gonna be facing off against myself. Let's go ahead and change the names real quick. Let's see. So it's gonna be me from ODM, Enticity, up against Plague Penguin, the clanless Penguin. There we go. And he's going to be playing as the Empire. We'll see how well he can do against the Greenskins. What's the map? That's cool. All right. So there we go. Cool Umbrella in chat. We'll see what map it's gonna be, but that shouldn't really be affecting my build too much in this battle. Overall, I think I'm feeling pretty comfortable. I do really like the heavy cavalry style of play, so maybe I will be mimicking that sort of play style this time around. Taurox fight the tree. If only Beastmen had a lot of cool campaign units to take. Fine with me. So it looks like Eshin. Eshin is going to be the map. There we go. Map is set. And now I must construct my build. The main thing about the Empire. You gotta figure out what type of lore do you want to take versus them. As they do have many scary options indeed. Cordell is honestly OP and you love him. The whole Wargrove of Woe faction is much better than regular Wood Elves. Interesting, because of the rushes. I feel like if you're expecting the rush though, they don't have a lot of elite infantry. And that might actually cause them a few issues. But we'll have to see. Dactyr's been championing them pretty well today. He might be able to really just wreck face here. Just for myself, I must figure out the strategy I want to be taking against the Empire here. So far, my build-wise, I'm feeling pretty comfortable with what I have. I have a good idea of what they can bring too. So I think this is okay. Let's see. I'll upgrade one of these units. Yeah, Wargrove are missing a lot of the best Wood Elf units, so I think a lot of their counters and bad matchups actually get flipped a tiny bit, interestingly enough. But let's see, I'm pretty happy with the build that I have here. This feels pretty good. So let's go ahead and give our opponent the ready. See what they decide to bring against us. Oh, actually, I do have a bit of a weakness in my build, admittedly, that I do need to fix up a little bit. Yeah. Just a tiny little huge problem that I gotta avoid. I actually had no answers to skirmishers, which would have been pretty bad. But that can be pretty easily resolved, I think. Let's go ahead and do this. Ooh, is this perfect? Oh, it is. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay. Now I am ready. Or am I? This feels decent. Yeah, let's try it out. Let's try this out. You're very scared of Void's vampire accounts. Interesting. Given that he can take everything from a standard build to mass handguns. Yeah. The vampire counts their range units. It's gonna make them a lot harder to cheese for sure. Generally, the wood elves do have an advantage there though. But you're not playing standard wood elves, which is pretty bad for you, Doctor. I feel like, yeah, you might have your work cut out for you. Can you still bring Glade Guard, though? I feel like with Glade Guard, you should be fine. Like a standard, 20 stack, heavy ranged unit type of playstyle. But we'll have to see. It should be a pretty fun match to watch, though. Oh, it looks like my opponent is ready. Let's go ahead and ready up and try this out. Regular Wood Elf curbs. Yeah, regular Wood Elves curb stomp the Vampire Count's air for sure. But Wood Elves, it's not regular Wood Elves in this tournament. We'll see how Void Lulz decides to play. Yeah, Rusky player is actually Void Lulz. I was thinking he was someone else for a bit. Does Wargrove just have not have higher elf tier units? I think they're missing a lot of them. They lose their lords and heroes. They lose their ROR elf units. They lose Way Watchers and Wildwood Rangers, and both variants of Wild Hunters. I think that means Wild Riders. But yeah, they lose a lot of their elite units, which is bad to say the least. We'll see how that actually plays out. But here we go, into the match. For my build today, I fought a pretty strong rush. It's very similar to what we were seeing earlier, and its biggest weakness is probably getting kited out. I think if the Empire player here decides to do that, that'd be pretty bad, but his army size is pretty large, so I'm not too worried. Plus I have a million spider hatchlings, so if I were getting kited out, I might be able to pin them down through the edge of the map. Meanwhile, the standard front line of big guns and ogres will be able to annihilate basically everything that comes my way. And then it's gonna be a single chariot to execute any infantry that we see. We'll be plowing through them and hopefully shutting them down. Grimgore plus the River Troll Hag too. The combination of their slows will be able to pin down any large entities for the Empire. And I even brought Spirit Leech in case we see those ROR Knights. They'll be able to take out 7 of their models and give me a pretty nice advantage. Yeah, Grimgore Heart indeed. I love Grimgore. He's great. Absolute beast. Alright, so I'm thinking a 4-4 split on my cavalry here. This side is going to be a little bit weaker due to having mostly spider riders, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get nice charges with with my boar cavalry. These guys should be able to support it and make sure that this guy stays safe. Meanwhile, on the right flank, it's more power. It should be able to overrun any Empire Knights that I see. And I'm hoping that these guys will be able to fare quite well. Meanwhile, just to make sure I don't get skirmished to death, we got these Forest Goblin Spider Riders out front. Outrider grenade launchers would be able to lay waste to this center line if I'm not careful. So these guys are a little bit of a contingency. Usually I'd bring more, but I spent most of my slots on these spiderling hatchlings. So it's going to be a little bit scarier for sure. Good luck, have fun. Ready. To start. Alright, and there we go. The battle is upon us for the Empire forces. Today we are seeing no artillery. Actually, instead opting for a very heavy infantry build. We do see the Knights of Moor. These guys, they come in with Grim Resolve. They're immune to psychology, I see. Now, I don't have any terror this game, so that's actually not too important. And yeah, we're just going to be getting underway and trying to get in as much damage as possible. Knights of the Blazing Sun on the flank, too. Going to be a little bit annoying, as I definitely don't want them to be... I can't Spirit Leech them, as they can tank that damage rather well. Let's go ahead and just march up then. Let's see if I can win it. Overcast Spirit Leech on those elite Empire Knights should be able to take out 7 models, thus negating most of their value. And I'm going to start overrunning these guys. Meanwhile, Archer shooting at the Fanatics is a great target for them. And I just want to get engaged as quickly as possible, pushing through with the Ogres to hopefully overrun the Empire lines. Grimgor, on the other hand, is going to be chasing down Volkmar. In fact, the Ogres are going to be pinning him down. The River Troll Hag is going to be slowing him too. That should actually give him a pretty rough time here, as he will be facing up against one of the strongest combatants in the entirety of the game. And there we go, look at that. He is taking a good amount of damage right off the bat. Big Burning Head does hit though. That's going to be hurting me quite a bit. But I am able to start creeping into this backline now. Looks like some of these Empire Knights are going to be making that a little bit harder. But overall, I think it's a fairly decent initial engagement here. These Orc Horde cavalry units are going to have to pull back a little bit into a better position. And Volkmar, he does actually manage to pull away from Grimgor. So he'll be actually surviving this time around, but looks like the Boar Cavalry is still doing quite well for themselves. Some of them did manage to escape along this right-hand flank. And with Grimgor on the run, or with Volkmar on the run, I'm feeling a little bit safer here. Now, these Empire Knights of the Blazing Sun, they're still going to be pretty scary. I'll have to find a way to actually find good engagements against them. Spirit Leeches are definitely going to be great, but they do actually get a fairly vicious charge onto my forces here. Meanwhile, Grimgor is still faring quite well for himself though, and actually since the Knights, it looks like they actually did rout off my River Troll Hag, but they did have to pull away into a safer position, so I think my River Troll Hag should be able to come back. Once she does, the hope is that I will be able to Spirit Leech and Knights of the Blazing Sun, since now that they've taken a bit of damage on themselves, they'll be dying to single ticks of Spirit Leech. They'll be losing 7 models a pop. There we go, River Troll Hag does come back into the battle. I'll be Spirit Leeching those Knights of the Blazing Sun. Grimgor, he will be targeting that Bright Wizard. And there we go. The Empire front line is now collapsing. So there we go. I even forgot some Spider Riders, or some Spiders, on my left flank, but I guess it was only a couple hundred gold, nothing too important. Fireball hits the River Troll Hag, but it doesn't matter. The match is over and we defeat Plague Penguin using this very nice greenskin build. Look at that. Grimgor killed the entirety of Volkmar. Absolutely no problem. Apparently these guys caused terror. That's pretty good too, but they did go down. They didn't get that much damage. And looks like my cavalry, my cavalry traded exceptionally better. The chariots too, just plowing through the infantry. And that's basically it. I just needed to, I overran the front line and the mobility. And that did shut down the archers by the end of it all. So pretty good. Pretty happy with that game. And now that means that we will be moving on to the match between Dactyr and possibly Voidlaws. It depends on who actually comes out on top, but it is Voidlaws playing his vampires. So that's gonna be definitely quite scary. So thank you, Plague Penguin, for the good luck. I did make it to the finals, which is really nice. I've been doing quite well in the tournaments that I've been playcasting recently. So now it's time to see if we can actually dive on into the match. Here we go. So looks like the lobby is up. Voidlaws is playing against Mr. Scare. We'll see how who actually comes out on top now. Overall, though, I think this tournament is very fun. There definitely are some factions that are just a ton stronger, but yeah, overall pretty good. It really is a huge shakeup in the meta too. And while we wait for Warhammer 3 to come out, I think this will be pretty nice to mix in every once in a while. You believe that the basic ogres with 6 chevrons are a peak physical performance. Really hard to find something they lose to in melee and still very cheap. How much they cost at 6 chevrons? That seems really expensive, but I'll double check it. Let's take a look here. These guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it's only 150 more, and they get 6 leadership, along with 6 melee attack. And 6 melee defense. Wow! These guys chevron amazingly. Look at that. That's pretty good. It does put them a little bit more expensive though, which worries me a little bit. I like to keep them cheap just so that I can put more money onto my other units, but I wouldn't be too surprised if chevroning them is more efficient. The ogre charge ability is absolutely amazing too. As they will be able to get some pretty nice impact damage on spears and such. Let's see. In a tournament right now. There we go. They basically have the same cost of the dual weapons, but extra defense and leadership. That's pretty cool. Still though, I feel like just having them cheaper is better though. That 150 gold is amazing. You know, you can take an extra unit of dwarf warriors instead of upgrading them. So it's not like the chevroning comes at no cost. Overall though, I think ogres are just an amazing unit. In general. Ooh, but yeah. We are in the finals. You can see the bracket over here. Whoops, I forgot to update it. 1 second. There we go. Yeah, we've made it to the finals. There are 3 more matches to play through. It's gonna be Void Laws up against Mr. Scare as the Empire. We'll see how that goes. See, now I'm sort of wondering, do the greenskins beat Vampire Count's cavalry with the spiders running around? I feel like they almost do, right? I feel like they almost do. I'm not insinuating that Dactor's gonna lose his match against the Vampire Counts. But if we do have to face up against that, I think we are in a pretty nice position. Let's see. Let's go ahead and just check that real quick. I feel like, yeah, the Boar Cavalry. I feel like the Boar Cavalry really do trade in well against a lot that the Vampire Counts can field. With the Spider Hatchlings. Even against Blood Knights, I might still be able to win it. Like, I don't know, there is a ton of healing too, which really mucks things up. The standard, of course, would be to go the Lava Arachnarok. My bad. The Lava Arachnarok Spider. As it's just an insane single entity. You can blob up real hard, and you'll have to do a lot of damage before it actually gets taken out. Yeah, look at that. That huge AoE damage, but he can bring range units, which mucks things up a ton. I feel like the handgunners would probably, they could very well put an end to it. Alternatively though, you know, if I replace some of my elite infantry, who knows? There's a couple of ways to go about it, but this is definitely a very strong tool against the Vampire Counts regardless, as it may force them to take some handgunners. For the rest of the army, I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to play around with it once we actually get into the game. In fact, the ogres they might not be that important here, as they have decent leadership, but they're not amazing on that front. Let's see, what would be great though? I feel like chariots are still really good. Chariots and some cavalry. Honestly, I could go the same build as I've been going, and it might actually play out rather well for me, I think. But yeah, let me know when you get that lobby up, Dactor, so I can go ahead and join in. I'd be very excited to see what build you have against the Vampire Counts. Because although they can take range units, it just means that they can't get cheesed. I'm wondering though if Void Laws is just gonna not take range units. to punish people for going anti-ranged builds. That might be that might actually be the way to do it. What do we got here? Got a... Let's see. Against vampire counts, by the way, be very careful when taking the River Troll Hag. She can get sniped out by Gaze of Nagash like no tomorrow. That can work out real badly, so be careful there. I do really like the chariots, though. Chariots right now in the current meta are really pickable, especially for the greenskins and the beastmen. Their mass and armor piercing is absolutely insane. Would highly recommend those guys. You know what I wouldn't recommend? River Trolls. River Trolls are terrible. I never see them taken. They have worse stats than normal trolls. Of course, they do have this extra minus melee attack, but that doesn't really matter very much, because they'll still be routing off all the same. Oh, sweet. All right. So the lobby is up. It's going to be Dactyr against Void. Thanks. All right. And we'll be diving right on in. So coming in on the left-hand side, we see Dactyr. Going to be facing up against Voidlaws from Clan VM. Here we go. VM Void. Actually, it is just Void now. Instead of Voidlaws. And we'll see how this match actually goes. Now, the Wood Elves generally are extremely favored in this matchup, but the fact that they've lost so many units, the Wargrove of Woe is basically an entirely different faction. And we'll have to see if Dactyr actually gets punished here for it. As, yeah, many of his range tools that he could take originally won't really be an option anymore. That means that Void has a lot less to worry about overall in their build selection. And they can really capitalize that now. As many of you should know, Void is one of the best Vampire Counts players in the entire game currently. Watching the semis. Alright, so yeah, Voidlaws is one of the most proficient Vampire Counts players, but the question is whether or not they are actually prepared for what Dactyr's build is going to look like. Because it's going to play very differently, presumably from the usual Wood Elf playstyle, because of all the missing options. For Dactyr, they have to account for the fact that, or he has to account for the fact that the Vampire Counts can field range units now, which means many of the traditional cheeses that Wood Elves can bring are going to be much, much weaker. We'll see how it actually plays out here. There will be a little bit of mind gaming going on for the players. And I think overall that should be quite exciting indeed. Void continuing to set up his build. Vampire Counts, they have to really adapt to the different matchups that they are playing in. So definitely to be expected when it comes to build selection. I would expect though probably Void is going to take at least one range unit. There's no reason not to go for a little bit of ranged power, since it's relatively cheap, and as long as they don't get sniped out, they will very likely get a good amount of value. As for Dactyr, we'll have to wait and see. I can see his army in front of me right now, so I don't want to be spoiling it before the match actually begins. And yeah, we will see how it goes. Personally, I feel like Wood Elves are at a pretty crazy disadvantage here, because yeah, they lose so many of their cheeses. A lot of the usual Wood Elf playstyle relies on having that strong, you know, ranged firepower to take down the counts. So it could go very bad indeed. Indeed. But do you guys think Coadil is going to be able to win it out here? Oh hey, Maiden, AC Maiden in chat. Happy to have you here. Coadil is strong in multiplayer as he is in campaign. Yeah, so Coadil has He's basically Durthu, except with the Mortis engine effect, which is even more effective against the vampire counts. And not only that, you can field Coadil with any number of different lords too to actually support him. It can be pretty crazy. And here we go, we are loading into the match now, which should be rather exciting indeed. But yeah, Coadil, we saw the other game. He easily had 90 melee attack for the entire battle, just with a few combat buffs. Yeah, but the vigor reduction thing has actually been removed as part of the mod. You actually can't take it with Coadil. So that does nerf him quite a bit. Brings him more in line with many of the other units, for sure. And here we go as we load on into the game. We shall see how things actually play out. I'm personally rooting slightly for my own clan, as much as I should remain completely unbiased. I am always happy to see my clan do well, but for the analysis, we'll try and stick nice and clean. So here we go for the forces of Dactyr. We see Coadil, the Flaming Tree, coming in with many of his abilities. He'll be sitting at a really nasty, nearly 100 melee attack for the entire battle. Insane damage and anti-large too. How much anti-large does this mad lad have? He has 25 anti-large. He will be hitting every single attack against large units. Meanwhile, the Ancient Treeman support for healing, very classic. It's the same thing that Dactyr did for his previous builds. For his army, it's going to be Dryads and a Treekin frontline coming in with Frenzy, which makes them actually much scarier than they are normally, with some giant spiders in the back, possibly to catch some dog units or to hold up some cavalry. Now for the forces of the vampire counts, we're seeing a Strigoi Ghoul King. He comes in with Spirit Leech and healing, very standard, and some Blood Knights along the flanks. Now Blood Knights, very elite cavalry. They can get healed and revived, and with good enough control, they should be able to really demand or really command the mobility fight here. We have the Sylvanian handgunners in the back too. They're going to be sitting nice and tight, mostly here to deal with the trees, most likely. And it's going to be a lot of chaff. Some Graveguard in the front line, some spears in the back. It's looking like almost like an Empire build, strangely enough. The Wood Elves are moving forward. They want to be getting engaged as quickly as possible, since the Strigoi Ghoul King can definitely cause a few issues. A single volley does shoot out, but he only takes a tickling of damage. Almost dodges all of it, actually, by the looks of it. And he's going to be going in for a breath attack on Coadil. Actually, a little bit inefficient there. Breath attack mostly missing. He does summon in some Crypt Ghouls, though, and they're going to be getting in a little bit of poke damage. Nothing too crazy for sure, as the archers have actually managed to advance past them. Now the forces, they are lining up. Strangely enough, the ranged firepower on both sides is about even. Coadil, still very strong in HP, and look at that, the giant spiders enveloping the Crypt Ghouls, bringing them down to half HP. They will be crumbling in no time. But the real scary force here, the Blood Knights, elite cavalry for the vampire counts, are going to be charging right in onto the Dryads, and a response from Dactyr bringing in the Malevolent Treekin to try and punish the Blood Knights, but they disengage before the tree can get in there, and that's an easy 500 gold value, hitting both of the Dryads and bringing them down to half HP. But as the main fight comes on in, Krell, another anti-large tool, gonna be fighting against the Treeman, but the Gunners, oh my gosh, look at that, a huge volley hits the Ancient Treeman and beats him up pretty viciously. He's gonna be having to disengage here, but these handgunners are absolutely gonna annihilate him. But on the retreat, look at that, the Strigoi Ghoul King looking to possibly take a fight, but decides against it and picks up back into the air, getting the breath attack on the Treeman. Treeman getting absolutely punished there. And although the archers are shooting at the Sylvanian handgunners, I don't think this is gonna go super well for the Wood Elf so far. They've taken insane damage from the Strigoi Ghoul King. And his body blocking on the Treeman too means that the handgunners are getting insane value, but thankfully for Dactyr, he does manage to get in his Dryads and Spiders on the handgunners, and he looks to be routing them off. His archers are pressuring them too. And Coadel, an absolute beast, is demolishing this Strigoi Ghoul King, bringing him down to half HP already. Another hit, bringing him down to a third HP. If this Ghoul King doesn't manage to escape, it's gonna be a very, very bad time for the vampire counts. Oh, and look at that, Coadel going for the summon to slow him down, but the mass of that Ghoul King manages to keep him out of there. Now, for Dactyr, he does manage to stabilize his Tree Man, throws down a healing spell on Coadel, looks like it's going to be a regrowth, and that's going to be really nice for him. Meanwhile, in the back line, the Blood Knights are demolishing the forces that are shutting down the handgunners. They are doing fairly well for themselves, but the handgunners don't have any healing. So as they rout off the battlefield, they will be losing models more and more, and losing, more importantly, their effectiveness against these Tree Men. But the Blood Knights look to be keeping these handgunners fairly safe. They've done a pretty good job at peeling for these two guys, but one of them does shatter off. That's going to be a pretty big loss for the vampire counts, but a nice counterplay. These Blood Knights charge right on in and slam into the Glade Guard Hagbane tips, shutting them down. This means that really the vampire counts should be able to command the ranged fight moving forwards, but it's a little bit scary. The Blood Knights are rather beat up, and there aren't a ton of solutions for these malevolent Treekin. Actually, no, scratch that. It looks like the handgunner stabilizing will actually be able to lay into them, and they're actually getting in some pretty nice damage. Another breath attack on the Ancient Tree Man too, gonna be bringing him very scarily low for Dactyr. But the balance of power is still more or less even for both sides. Maybe slightly in the favor of the vampire counts, but it could honestly flip either way. And oh my gosh, the double Tree Men slam into that corpse cart and just delete him from the world. The Ancient Tree Man too, pulling back. It looks like he will be able to stay safe for a bit longer. And the constant pressure, the infantry moving into the backline, looks to be really punishing these handgunners. It's going to be shutting them down while the Tree Men decide to engage on Krell. This should be a pretty favored fight for Coadel, but it still could go either way. And as for these two giant spiders, it is imperative that Dactyr keeps them alive. They are the only thing keeping these Blood Knights busy, and they need to be constantly pressuring these handgunners, or else they're just gonna shred all of these Tree Men. There are the malevolent Treekin though that could possibly push into the backline, but Dactyr looks like he doesn't want to move in there just yet, because if they do charge forwards, they may get surrounded by the Blood Knights. Definitely a very scary position to be in. Balance of power still dead even for both sides. Definitely a very close match. And we'll see how this battle actually plays out. Another huge volley on Coadel. Dactyr is taking an absolute beating from these handgunners. And we'll see how well these Glade Guard actually manage to take them out. They're getting in a few volleys, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be that much as the handgunners continue to rip volley after volley into these trees. And Coadel is going to be having a pretty rough day, even though this is max range. He's been brought down to 1/3 HP again, and a big surround on the Blood Knights may actually take him out if Dactyr is not careful. And meanwhile, for Voidlaws, very nice play. He's been able to keep away all these forces from his handgunners for the majority of the battle. Only now, these spiders catching and shutting down one of the handgunners, the archer shutting down the other. But will it be enough? This Tree Man is down to basically no HP. He might actually die here, and Coadel has to peel for him, hitting Krell and actually trying to take him out. A vicious attack on Krell too. If Krell goes down, that's a really strong single entity gone for the vampire counts. But Krell may take out the Tree Man, and if that happens, that means it's no more healing for Dactyr. One more hit would take down the Tree Man, but Krell's taking an absolute beating. We'll see if he actually goes down here, and if this Tree Man routes too, that could be really bad. Coadel getting into position. They're going to be landing their attacks, but Krell, he's so close to taking him out. But it doesn't even matter because the handgunner volley takes down that Tree Man, and he actually does go down. Now, that means it's just gonna be Coadel left. He's up against 2 units of handguns, 2 units of Blood Knights, and he has his Treekin with Frenzy. They will be able to trade quite well against these handgunners. But is there anything to really deal with this Strigoi Ghoul King? I feel like Coadel will lose on the charge since he is so low on HP. And look at that, the handgunners rip another volley into him. Oh my gosh, and it looks like Dactyr taps out. Man, the trees. Looking like they were really beating the single entities, but the handgunners were just absolutely devastating against them. You cannot bring a slow build against this campaign vampire accounts, as you can see here, both handgunners that survived the initial trade, getting in absolutely insane value there. Krell, an absolute beast, ripping apart those tree men. And although the Strigoi Ghoul King did get punished, I think Dactyr just did not have the mobility to win it out there. That means that the match is going to go in for Voidlaws, bringing us in towards the finals now. Let's go ahead and host that lobby up. Go ahead and invite Voidlaws and see how the finals actually play out. Will his vampire accounts win the day? Or will the greenskins be able to come out on top? There's only one way to find out. And to do that, we'll have to actually host a proper lobby. Let's see, add Voidlaws. Lobby is coming up. Man, Dactyr, that was absolutely brutal, man. People, I think they were thinking about Coadel's insane Vigor Leech ability, which was removed for the mod. He did do a lot of damage, but those handgunners got insane value. Oh my gosh, they did quite a bit for sure. But we'll go ahead and invite Voidlaws in here. See if we can get the other caster too. I'll go ahead and message them. Lobby is up. And we'll see how this actually plays out. Now the greenskins, generally they have a bad matchup against the vampire counts. I think with the new addition of their units, they are going to be pretty scary though. We'll have to see. Oh yeah, ogre spam. Oh man, that'd be fun. All right, people already saying vampire counts with no weaknesses. Will I be able to challenge the claim in the finals today? We will have to see. I feel pretty confident here up against the vampire counts. I'm actually not too worried about them, but Voidlaws is in the lobby. Hey, what's the map? But we'll have to see. We will have to see. Dactyr saying, I will need the luck. Wow. Wow, it looks like the odds are against me here in these finals. My confidence? Sounds good. My confidence might be, might actually be tested here. But we'll see. Gorgazon being the proposed map by the tournament organizer. Is Voidlaws happy with the map? Or is he not? Will we be switching to a different map? We'll have to see. Voidlaws considering the map. Perhaps he didn't see the message. Overall, though, overall, we will see. We'll see how this goes. I got some strats. Voidlaws really only has handgunners, and that's it. It's not a particularly scary force overall. Of course, his control is still going to be really good, though, so I have to be rather careful with how I decide to bring my army. He's considering. But yeah, we will see. We shall see. I'll go ahead and start getting my build ready. It shouldn't be too different between the different... Yeah, it shouldn't be too different overall, I think. Overall, it's gonna be quite similar. Quite similar indeed. Let's see, I do like this option. So, with the greenskins, the first things first is, what lord are you gonna take? There are a few options that you can go for, but all of your lords do run a little bit of the risk of being sniped. And that's sort of what I'm the most worried about here, as sniping attempts definitely can go down. Overall, Spirit Leech isn't too scary, but there definitely are a few things I need to worry about for sure. Let's see here. How do I feel about this? This feels pretty good. Let me go ahead and make sure that the build is legal. I like all my builds barely legal. I'm pretty sure this is legal. Yes, it is. All right, cool. And then I have to decide on my front line. Now, spellcasters can run a little bit of a rough time here, as they are probably the most prone targets to getting taken out. So I'll have to be rather careful with them. Ethereal damage, or ethereals in general, are going to be pretty spicy too, as overall the greenskins, they don't have that much magic damage. They have a bit, but they gotta be a tiny bit careful to make sure that doesn't ruin them. 8 big guns incoming. Yes, just go a completely normal build as the greenskins. That'd be pretty hilarious. Hazel, that set off alarms in your brain. Yeah, I would go a little bit further with that joke, but we are live right now and probably not the place for it. But so far, I think I have a pretty decent build. I just need to decide what infantry I'm actually gonna go for here. I do have a couple options that are fairly nice. But will it be enough? Will it be enough? Let's see. Okay, so got like a few thousand gold to spend on them. Big guns, of course, are an amazing unit in general. I think undoubtedly I will be taking big guns, as they are just absolutely amazing. Black orcs actually get a little bit scarier to take, because the vampire accounts, they do have many scary tools against against black orcs now with their handgunners. I don't want them to shoot those guys. But let's see, is this the army that I will be taking? It feels pretty good so far. But am I missing anything? What am I missing? Let's see. No, maybe I'm not missing anything. Maybe this is the army to take. I feel like my caster, though, has a lot, or my lord has a lot to be desired. Maybe I will change my lord option here and go for something a bit different. Or maybe not. Let's see. Maybe not. Maybe this is a fine lord to take. Maybe it is. Alright, so I have a bit of extra money left. I guess I'll spend it on a couple abilities and then we can get underway. Yep, overall looks pretty good. Actually, I could take this instead. That's pretty nice. That's a good ability. Yeah, it's too bad you can't actually see what I'm picking here, but I can assure you guys, this army is pretty spicy indeed. So I think we're good to go. Let's head on into the game and see what Void Laws has in store for me. Overall, I'm quite happy. Void Laws asking if it's a best of one. We'll see what Cool Umbrella has to say about it. Yep, it is. Wow, okay. So the RNG is high in this finals. It all comes down to this singular match. Will I be able to win it? Or will Void Laws be able to win the vampire counts against the greenskins? Let's go ahead and change the scores in the top. So T, there we go. Oh boy, here we go. Shame there were no Tomb Kings. Venom Knights are Chads. Yeah, their carrion too are armor piercing. They're basically ripperdactyls. I would have been really excited to see Tomb Kings, but there's just so many great options here. We'll have to wait and see next time. I think Turin was actually looking forward to playing a campaign units tournament. So I think we might be able to see more of this in the future, but here we go. We got my army. I got my casters over here. They're gonna be chilling. They're gonna be camping on top of this chariot unit. The reason is because I'm afraid of Lord sniping, and to prevent that, using the chariots to body block is one of the better options I can take. I got my front line of big guns. We got some goblins on the flanks, and I'm not too worried about them because I have a ton of cavalry here to actually overwhelm my opponent. We got some boars, backing them up. Actually, a hefty amount of boars indeed. And if Voidlals just goes for, you know, a couple Blood Knights, my cavalry's gonna come out extremely ahead in the fight. They'll be able to nail their charges because of these spiders. And I think that might be able to win it for me here. But we'll have to see. Good luck, have fun. I'm fine with either or. But yeah, I feel like this is a fairly fine army. We got some fanatics going on too. They will be absolutely shredding the front line. So we'll have to see. Let's do best of one. Then we can go. Since we were asking before we got in. All right. But here we go. How do you guys feel about this wide greenskin build? I feel like the chariots will be really good at helping me win the frontline fight, especially against Graveguard, and they double as a tool against the very elite Graveguard that we might run into. Alright, but Voidlaws, it gives a good luck, have fun. No comments on best of one and so on, so let's go ahead and dive right on in. So here we go. The army for the vampire counts. What do we got? We got a Strigoi Ghoul King. That's a defensive formation over here. We got lots of handgunners in the back. Necromancer, and fairly cheap front line. Okay, nothing too scary. Let's go ahead and keep these chariots nearby, though. I definitely want them close to my hero squad, lest they get sniped out. I have no range tools, so the Strigoi Ghoul King actually has a lot of he has a lot of chances to do some sniping here. He might actually go for some breath attacks too, which would be a little bit scary. Let's just continue creeping up though. I have my chariots for mass, so they shouldn't be too worried. Oh, and I need to turn with my heroes. There we go. Man, that breath attack comes in so fast. If you don't dodge it immediately, you can get absolutely ruined. Does he have a Spirit Leech? He only has breath attacks and Gaze of Nagash. Now, interestingly enough, Gaze of Nagash, it does do quite a bit to my forces. So I do have to be a little bit careful here. Looks like he's going to be sniping out Grimgore, getting in a pretty nasty initial hit. And we'll take a look at the rest of the army here. We got some Black Knights, no Blood Knights, really. So although Grimgore is fairly low, we'll see how well he actually does here. Let's go ahead and get my forces here to engage those initial zombies that have moved up, and then get into a position. All right. The zombies are going to be dying pretty quickly. I'm not too worried about that at all. Grimgore has fairly high HP too, so I think he should be a-okay. And as soon as we are good, I think I will be just fine. Let's go ahead and continue creeping up. And then I just want Grimgore to get in as quickly as possible. Another breath attack does land. That time I did not dodge it, unfortunately. It does get some pretty nice damage there. Some more zombies do move up. I will be engaging on top of them. And this actually thins out his front line a bit. I feel like my chariots are going to have a pretty nice heyday here against his forces, but we will have to see how it actually plays out. Let's go ahead and move forwards with my chariots. Now moving forwards with my cavalry. And I'll want to be getting in as close as possible. A nice dodge from Grimgore. I dodge a Gaze of Nagash overcast. It's actually pretty huge for me. And now that the handgunners are running back, that means that they shouldn't be too much of a threat. Let's go ahead and grab my spiders too. Dive in on top of those guys. Chariots are going to be moving away to a bit of a safer position, I feel. And then we are now caught up in the main fight. So, spiders are diving in. They're getting in really good damage. I'm getting in solid charges here too against the forces of the vampire counts. The chariots are doing great. And my mobility is just charging in like crazy. Some Blood Knights are over here, but they're actually going to be in for a pretty rough engagement as my forces do plow on into them. And look at that, all the handgunners are now immobilized. So I need to be casting some spells here to shut these guys down, and I want to be supporting this backline area as much as I can. These fanatics are going to be moving up. The chariots are plowing on forwards, but some nice dog control actually gets them blocking a lot of my cavalry in the backline. It's going to be a little bit scary. Grimgor going to be coming on in. We'll be fighting up against this hero here. But I think overall, he should be in for a pretty rough fight against Grimgor. It is just Krell, so he's not especially scary here. And Grimgor should be able to kill him rather quickly, although he does have quite a bit of support. I need to hit that debuff too, but no, this actually... Krell does not count as a lord or hero. What a plot twist. Krell is actually his own man. And just does not get debuffed by Grimgor. Now that is strange, but we will take it. We'll see how this fight actually goes as the cavalry now charges in. It is just Black Knights, not as scary as many of the other potential targets here. And we'll see how this backline engagement goes. All of my forces are more or less engaged. I do have a couple spiders here in the backline that are doing pretty well. Grimgor does get sniped out though, unfortunately. He will be going down. And we'll have to see how the rest of my army fares on without him. I do have fanatics that I have not dropped yet. They'll be trying to do their best to actually win their initial engagements. And my chariots, they're going to be in for a pretty big beating too. I'm a little bit worried that the Vampire Count's Lord is going to have a heyday against me. But I do have a lot of cavalry here. And I think with a good enough surround, he should be in for a pretty rough time. Plus all these chariots are clearing up the rest of the forces here. And the dragon, he's going to be a little bit afraid to land, strangely enough, as he just really doesn't want to get caught up in all of this mass. And there we go. He does go in for the landing. He will be fighting on top of my chariots and on top of the rest of my forces, especially my big guns who are in the mix. But it looks like he's going to be doing quite healthy for himself. Let's go ahead and get my goblins here too. I want to be countercharging these Black Knights. And specifically, I want to hit them up with my fanatics. These Grave Guard are going to be a little bit scary too, but I have my chariots to rush them down, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue, I think. And the Blood Knights, well, they're still doing quite well for themselves. The Strigoi Ghoul King is rather scary too. But I do have a full HP unit of Savage Orc Big Guns, which will hopefully be able to tear apart the rest of the forces. Meanwhile, I got my Goblin here. He's gonna be, looks like a sniping attempt might actually come down on him. I'll do my best to try and keep him safe. And I guess I just start buffing up my big guns. I want them to be fighting as well as they possibly can against this remaining blob fight. My caster will be going down though. And we are out of cavalry. So that's going to be a little bit sketchy. My caster too, he's pretty low on HP. But I do have another Wah that will be helping me out a little bit. Single entities here, it looks like they are getting bogged down. But do I have enough to kill off the Strigoi Ghoul King? That is the big question. We might actually hit army losses here. I do have the Wah, but Krell is at extremely high HP, and I don't know if I'll be able to finish him off. We do hit army losses. We will call GG, but I'm going to ask if that was within, I think that was closer than 200 meters of the white line. I'm pretty sure that was a white line rule break, but it will be up to the tournament organizer to decide, and indeed he says it was. So it looks like we will actually be able to squeeze out a replay there. So pretty good. I did lose a lot of cavalry in the back though, and that definitely punished me quite a bit. All right, so let's go ahead and concede the match. And then we'll get to play another one, hopefully further away from the white line where my cavalry can do better. Overall, they still did really good. The Vampire Count's cavalry is not especially scary. So I think overall on that front, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm taking a look at the Grave Guard. They actually got punished pretty hard there. But nice. Nice. So let's see. Same map and such. Also is attacking with one... Wait, this is banner rules, right? So I think it is banner rules. So banner rules has a different thing on attacking rules. Let me go ahead and check that real quick. Attacking. Yeah, so reasonable pace. By the way, is one zombie at a time. Attacking at a reasonable pace. Let's go ahead and check this extra thing too, as it is at the moderator's discretion. But overall, I think I like my build. It's fairly strong. All right, it looks like we got multiple rule breaks. So we should have a pretty good replay. So replay same build or what? All right, it was legal in previous attacking rules, I believe. So it's fine. Void Laws might not be caught up with the new rules. He does like to play very close to the to the line on attacking. So it is it is up to the discretion of the admins to decide what is legal and what is not. Thankfully for us though, we do get a replay. Should be quite nice. My cavalry should have a little bit of a better time. And I have to be a bit careful that I get the right engagements with them. That's gonna be what really determines whether or not we win or lose here. Yeah, Rusty, it's polite not to assume, I would say. Even if, even if we have our assumptions. I like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And it doesn't really matter because if it is a rule break, we get to replay anyways. Right, so here we go. The attacking rule is absurd. Vampire Counts has no skirmish cap, meaning that the attacking rule, like other factions... Yeah, so for Legion, it comes down to if you think attacking with skirmishers is a reasonable pace. And that's also up to the admin's discretion. Okay, same map, same builds. Lord sniping is not a rule break. It's all about the your speed of attacking. Since summons are attacking too, then Vampire Counts could keep that going for 10 minutes. Indeed, it gets it can get pretty cheesy for sure. Double checking some more rules. The rules changing second by second as we go into the tournament. Just waiting on Cool Umbrella to get confirmation here on these same builds. Come on, Cool Umbrella, you're the tournament organizer. Alright, what are we doing? The opposite of what? Come on! Come on, what are we doing? If we're doing different builds, I need to go through... I need to go and change my army again. New builds, Same map. Okay. Well, there we go. Let's go ahead and play around with the build then. What do I want to change? What do I want to change? There are a few options. One sec then. Alright. So, obviously the Lord sniping, I thought Grimgor would be tanky enough, but sadly he isn't. So I'll have to change that up a bit. For my cavalry, I think they do pretty well for themselves against the vampire counts. I really do like the chariots too, so I will be going for that. And I think overall, I probably want to take maybe a few skirmishers to keep that Dragon Lord back. He is an absolute pain in the air, but I really need to figure out what type of mobility I want to take. Yep, change your Lord. We'll see what I decide to go for. There's a few options here. Let's see, how tanky is this guy? It's a decent choice. Let's see, a lot of people do like Skarsnik here too, as he does have his stealth, which puts him in a pretty good position. He has some pretty good anti-large too, which makes him amazing if you decide to take a proper cavalry engagement. So perhaps I will go for that. Let's see here. How big of a skirmishing force do I want though? I guess it doesn't have to be too expensive. Skarsnik has more HP than Grimgor. That is true. That is true. He doesn't fight as well, but in this sort of match, it's all about that HP, I guess. How expensive is this ability? Wow, that's really expensive. I think it might help me out though. Let's go ahead and take it. And then change a few more things here and there. Yeah, Grimgor, he had the long walk. There was no way he was not going to get sniped there, unfortunately. Let's see. Actually, there's one thing I could do, which is pretty nice. How tanky is this guy? Let's go ahead and, okay. I could do this instead. Now, it does run me a few risks, but overall, I think it's fairly good for me. Warzag is insanely squishy. He is. He is. Poor Warzag. Poor Warzag. Alright, so I sort of like where this is going. The build that I have currently. And then I just need a little bit more. See, honestly, I don't know how I feel about these Savage Orcs. Maybe I could switch them out here. High risk, high reward Lord, perhaps. He does have his snare, which is great. I think that does help Warzag out pretty dramatically. Alright, but first things first, let's focus on getting my cavalry to a good enough place. And then second thing is second, I need to make sure that my infantry is nice and happy. Let's go ahead and actually, you know what, maybe I will do a little bit of this. Yeah, this feels pretty good. Let's see, and now I just need to choose my infantry. Now, infantry is always a little bit, just a little bit sketchy, but I think I have a decent enough idea here that will hold decently well. Let's see, how do I feel about this? If I take, sort of want to take this spell. Then I can do this, take two of these guys. Okay, so I have a pretty fun build here. This feels pretty good. All right, let's double check to make sure I have everything I need. I think I do. All right, all right. So I have my build. I'm feeling pretty confident against Void Laws, but we'll have to see how well this build actually performs. Are the Fanatics worth it still? It really depends on what they're hitting. In that game, they didn't really do that well against the cavalry, so I think mixing it up is going to be helping me out a little bit. Overall, though, I think the build I have right now feels pretty nice. Pretty nice, I would say. Let's see, I wonder what the vampire counts would do against this. guess there's like a few options that could be a bit scary here, but I'm pretty happy with what I have. Oof. Oof. But yeah, the big game changer though is that greenskins have a huge cavalry advantage that they did not have before. Like, just absolutely insane cavalry advantage. Sad, no orc boys. They win against everything Vampire Counts has. Yeah, the main problem is I actually have so much money. It's I might as well go more elite on my infantry. The spiderlings really use up a lot of the space. Oh, real quick, let's just quickly double check that we don't have a bit of a rule break ourselves. Let's see, it's on the campaign units. Green skins. Here we go. They're treated. Spider hatchlings are treated like zombies or peasants. Alright. That's all it says as far as I know, so I think I'm okay. Alright, here we go. So Void Lawless is ready for take number 2. Who will win? With the greenskins against the Vampire Counts. Honestly, I think it could go either way, but we will have to see as we load on into the battle. Now, I have made some changes to my build. I am much more resistant to Lord sniping, which is going to be nice. And I also have my secret tool to deal with, hopefully, cavalry. I have brought with me today, as soon as we load into the battle, I brought today a rock lobber for my build. So that should be quite nice for me, as I feel like Void Lawless is more prone to playing defensively with his builds, but we'll have to see. 110 armored archer unit. For what? Which unit does that? That sounds pretty crazy. But here we go. All right, so we are into the match. For my build today, I don't have that much magic damage. That's probably the scariest thing here. But I do have my front line. Fairly cheap front line, actually. With medium tier on the cavalry front. But I'm hoping, we do see quite a bit of infantry for my opponent. I'm hoping that my cavalry will be able to survive here. By sort of pulling him forwards, I should be able to use my sort of extra mobility to my advantage. And that should be able to help me out quite a bit. I have my Lord, who will be spamming out Vindictive Glares if we do see ethereal units. And then I have my Orc Board Chariots to help win the frontline fight. We got Skirmishers at the front. And I think that's basically all I need to fare pretty well here. I am really hoping that my mobility is able to win it. And I don't think he spammed out a ton of Blood Knights. If he did, well, then that'd be a little bit worse for me, but we'll see how this goes. Iron Drakes have 125 armor, yeah. You're referring to Black Orcs with the bow instead of a Black Orc bow and arrow. I dread how expensive that unit would actually end up being. Cool. Looks like Void Lawless is ready. Let's go ahead and dive on into the battle, and what do we see? It's a pretty cheap line. We got some Blood Knights here. We got some units in the air. The ROR of Argeist. That's very interesting. They are pretty unarmored, so I might actually just go out and snipe them with my with my Vindictive Glares. Let's go ahead and bring up my Skirmishers too. They're going to be getting in some pretty nice damage. They'll be taking to the flanks, and then I can actually begin moving up just a tiny bit. Now, I'm pretty sure I do still have a pretty good mobility advantage. These are Black Knights. These guys are Blood Knights. These guys are Black Knights. There's only one unit of Blood Knights that will be helping me out a little bit here. Let's go ahead and, let's see. I don't want to throw that down just yet, I think. Let's start hitting up these Blood Knights with my Rock Lobbers. That should fare quite well for me. Meanwhile, my Skirmishers taking to the flanks. They can more or less deny this engagement. Looks like the skirmishers, the range units for the vampire counts, they are actually they're continuing to advance. And I mistimed my engagement just a tiny bit. The Dragon Lord is actually opting to snipe out my my thing in the back here. He's actually going to breath attack my Lord. Let's go ahead and just move in with my mobility, and then try to get a nice surround on the greenskin or on the vampire count forces here. Now these knights on the side, they're going to be a little bit scary, as they are a pretty large threat to my forces. Let's go ahead and throw down a slow over here too. It looks like they do get a really nasty charge on a lot of my guys. My Lord is getting focused down by the Dragon Lord, so I'm going to pull him in, try and find a safer position for him. But overall, I think the vampire counts are winning this this cavalry fight pretty decisively. Getting pretty scary, but we'll continue moving up with my Lord. I have a couple boars. Oh my gosh, all the way in the distance. Terrible, terrible misplay. But I'll still try and scrap it out as well as I can. My boars are about to get charged in on by a lot of those boars. Definitely don't want that to be, by the Blood Knights I mean. I definitely don't want that to cause too many issues here. But those single unit of handgunners are being an absolute beast against my Lord. Let's go ahead and pull him back to a bit of a safer position and try and get him safe. But overall, I think as soon as my Lord goes down, the game is going to turn very badly in my favor, as the mobility for the vampire counts is going to be overrunning me pretty hard. Now, the Black Knights, they have screened off my skirmishers. My Lord is on the run now. We'll see how well I can actually keep him safe here. Let's go ahead and pull in my cavalry, try and get a better position on the Blood Knights, and then get my cavalry over here to try and kill for my Lord. I think he will still be dying nonetheless, but there is a bit of a potential for me to trade at least decently with my cavalry surrounding the Strigoi Ghoul King. Meanwhile, I do still have my chariots. They will be performing quite well for themselves. Let's go ahead and move up with my skirmishers. And my Lord, although it looks like those bats are going to be chasing them off, I think I might still be okay. The cavalry fight is going decently for me. My Lord looks like he will be going down, but I will have a decent amount of infantry for myself, and then it's going to come down to how scary the cavalry actually perform. They could do quite well, so keep a close eye on them. But I've crumbled away these Black Knights. There's a single unit of Black Knights over here that are still alive, but they are still just Black Knights. Let's go ahead and, come on. Crown of Command on my Lord. There we go. He's going to be sticking around for just a little bit longer. And over here on the flank, my chariots are finishing off the remainder of the Vampire Count's infantry. My Lord, he's going to be spamming Vindictive Glares onto those Vargeists. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and bring in my Boar Cavalry to try and support him here. Slow down the Vargeists a little bit and finish off the rest of the infantry. It should be able to help me out. It looks like the Vargeists, they do actually decide not to go in and engage, and instead the Vampire Count's Lord is coming in instead to finish the job. Now, he is going to get a pretty nasty landing on my Lord, and that means that my Boar Boys are probably going to be routing off immediately after. It's going to be pretty unfortunate for me, but it's come down to my remaining mobility here. We'll see how well they actually do. The Black Coach is going to be rather scary too, but at least now that since my Lord is routing pretty early compared to the rest of my forces, I will be able to hopefully stabilize my leadership a little bit as we head on into the late game. I have a decent amount of mobility. Seems like, let's see here. I chunked down those Black Knights pretty hard, so that means that the Vampire Count's mobility is going to be hurting too. And I still have just a little bit of ammunition left on a lot of my guys. Been a couple boars coming back, but they rout off immediately after. And we'll see if I can kill off this Necromancer. See, we're not close to the edge of the map, so I'm fine chasing him off. We'll see how well these skirmishers can actually do. There are still a unit of Blood Knights. I'm not a huge fan of those guys for sure, but I should be able to at least pick off a couple of the Vargeists, I think. Meanwhile, the Necromancer getting pinned down by my chariots. He'll be having a hard time doing much. He throws down another summon, which is really nice for my opponent, as we'll be able to punish my guys quite a bit. It looks like he's going to be looking for a pretty big heal there in the distance. Yeah, indeed. He does go for the heal, and I think the cavalry play might be bringing the match for my opponent. Unfortunately, I really goofed up on my cavalry that game. It's going to be losses for me as I do hit army losses. Unfortunately, the cavalry engagements for me were absolutely terrible. I think Void played a lot better on that front. So definitely a well-deserved second game. And I think the Vargeists actually supporting did help him out quite a bit. My Lord did pretty well, but I actually didn't have a ton of support for him, which was pretty unfortunate. Still though, pretty fun. And of course, the handgunners. Big problem over there. They got a whole ton of value on my Lord. I definitely shouldn't have pulled in too close. But there we go. So ends the tournament. And we will be taking the second place prize. I think what? It's like $15, which is pretty fun. Hey, look at that. Voidlaw's taking the $35 prize for first place. So it should be good. There we go. So that's going to be the end of the tournament today. Voidlaws has won the match. Whoopsie daisies, I changed the map. And I believe that's going to be the end of the stream today, unless Cool Umbrella proposes another rule change, which I don't think he will. So let's go ahead and tap on out. So to close off the stream for today, thank you very much guys for coming in to watch. It was a pleasure playing in the tournament. I think the idea overall is pretty fun, and I'm excited to try out more of it in the future. Special thanks to my patrons too. They support the ladder, so I like to thank them at the end of my streams. Red Wedding, Planet, Roman, Cool, and Biblington. And thank you to you guys for watching. I will see you next time.